Ronald Reagan, beloved American president, elected by a landslide in 1980. But to a young, delusional loner,
Are you talking to me?
the new president is nothing more than an opportunity.
I'll save you.
He was becoming more psychotic.
His desperate plot is not about politics. It's about impressing a girl.
He seems to really believe they're going to become this magical couple.
A nobody, desperate to be a somebody.
I remember clearly hearing bang, bang, as you think, oh my God, the president.
In his delusional mind, the mission is clear. New Haven, Connecticut, 1980. A man, obsessed with a young woman he's never met, telephones her dormitory at Yale University. For 4 years, the young man has admired the woman from afar. He's fantasized about becoming part of her life.
Hello?
Hello?
Who is this?
I think you might know me.
Do you feel confident saying that the bridge is safe?
The bolts are in critical locations. They're holding critical parts of this structure together. And if they don't function properly, the system can fail.
To be clear, Bob B. does not think the bridge will fall down from everyday use. But the Hayward Fault is just 7 miles away from the suspension span, where 32 high-strength bolts holding earthquake safety devices broke last March. The reason? Hydrogen embrittlement. Here, directly under the self-anchored suspension portion of the new eastern span, you can actually see the busted bolts up close. They're the ones that have a visible gap right there.
Why do you go outside of the specifications?
The broken bolts put Caltrans on the hot seat and bridge safety in the spotlight.
The standard specifications are specifications we use for our everyday bridges, and this is not your everyday bridge. It was a decision that was made eyes wide open.
The materials that were used in these bolts were not the appropriate material to use.
UC Berkeley metallurgist Thomas Devine says bridge designers made several mistakes. First, they ordered bolts that were too hard on the outside, making them susceptible to hydrogen cracking. Then they galvanized the bolts, leaving them even more vulnerable to hydrogen. And finally, they installed the bolts without enough testing. So initially, the testing was not adequate.
It was consistent with industry standards, which did not catch that.
So would you say it was not adequate?
Yes.
We're your Gotta Get Away for the Day guide, your Let's Try a New Place to Eat guide, even your Hey, It Really Happened Here guide. We're the tour guide with you in mind. Eye on the Bay.
Here's all you need to know about
beer.
Beer.
Sparkling, golden, pure, refreshing.
We went to Beer, Beer, and More Beer in Concord to learn more about beer.
The ancient Babylonians were probably the first to brew beer.
It starts with the simplest of ingredients, something farmers planted for thousands of years to make a basic food: bread.
Cereal grains are starchy materials commonly used in making alcoholic beverages.
Barley, wheat, corn.
Usually it's barley, and it's malted. The malt which coats each grain is a kind of sugar. And you're gonna need sugar if you want to make an alcoholic beverage. Then you grind up the malted grain into some hot water. This is the mash. Then you strain all the sugar water from the grain. This liquid is the wort. And now we're ready to start boiling. You boil the wort, which at this point is pretty sweet, so you add hops. Hops balance out the sweetness of the malted grains. As a bonus, hops are a natural preservative. After all, the ancient Babylonians didn't have any hexamethylene tetramine or potassium benzoate lying around. After the mixture cools, you introduce yeast. Yeast are tiny little organisms that like to eat one thing and one thing only: sugar. Like the sugar in the wort. Then you just let the yeast munch on the malt sugars for a week or two. A biological process known as fermentation. As the yeast chomps on the sugar, it makes...
Its chemical formula is C2H5OH. This is ethyl alcohol. Some of it reaches the brain, and because of this may provide an illusion of relaxation.
In addition to alcohol, the tiny yeast critters also belch up CO2.
The bubbles seen here are carbon dioxide given off during the fermentation.
The same sudsy bubbles you enjoy in a glass of beer and the reason you burp after quaffing a cold one. That's how you make beer. Now, the breweries follow the same ancient process, but on a bigger scale.
Knowledge passed down through the centuries is combined with modern chemistry of food.
But as always, drink responsibly while consuming a malted beverage containing approximately 5% of C2H5OH.
Driving or walking in traffic is extremely hazardous.